I was gonna sharpen my chain, and I was talking about I use this tool, the 2-in-1. It's been great. And what I do when I sharpen is on steel, this one's starting to wear off, but they put a yellow link, and that makes it handy to be able to find where to start and finish. And it might be worn off. Oh, there it is, right there. So yeah, it's wearing down, but there is a bit of a yellow on there. So I am going to start at that point. Here on the truck, I put the chain brake on. I'll take a shoe and put it on the end to just press against so that the chain isn't cutting what I'm wearing or my skin. And this has arrows telling you which direction to slide, and then you can see it's angled, and you want to kind of line that up so when you hit here, this is flat against the chain. So a little bit of pressure. I usually go, 4 to 6 times, and I flip it. I think I left this out in the rain or it got wet, maybe my sweat, because the file is actually, it's a little bit, looks like rusted. The other thing that these circle round files will wear down and you need to replace them. I did that once and wow, what a difference. And I wonder if these are starting to get close to that again, where they could use some new files. But we'll see if I can get it sharp. And it doesn't lock in real good going this direction. But you can see, if hopefully in the camera, how bright this is. It means the flat file's hitting and it's knocking that down just a little bit. And then you can see it's bright and shiny on the cutter. And so it's sharpening that as well. So you try to hold it flat, pull it through. And as you flip it, just flip it over to get the other side. And I'm trying to find a way to lock my saw a little better so that I can put a little pressure on it. This is a 25-inch chain, and I found that it takes about 3 times rotating the chain till I can get all the way through each tooth. I have a feeling when I'm going this direction I'm not sharpening it quite as well, but I'll see. I was going to try cutting a little bit once I got this touched up. And remember, of course, there are, at least with the saws I have, my old saw, the 260, is a .325, and all my other saws, 400, 661, 462, they're .050. And so they make a 2-in-1 for both those gauges, but just make sure you get the right one for your chain. I think one time I sharpened using the .325 on when it should have been 050, and it cut, but I was noticing something's a little off. And then as I inspected, oh yeah, I used the wrong 2-in-1. Sometimes try to rotate these round files. And I'm sure many of you know that there's a little line on each chain. If you can see that right there. And that's the angle that you want to try and match. The 2-in-1 helps you match that. It's also, I've been told, as you approach that, you're getting to the end of the life of your chain. But I found using this 2-in-1, the life of the chain for me is before I get to the end of that, or get close to that line, just because, again, the gap between the cutting tooth and the depth guide, as that gets too wide, this isn't as effective then as getting the depth guide to file down lower. And so when I cut, I don't get much wood chips, and the chain just kind of sits on top of the log and spins. So I'm going to test this out. I'm going to try to cut some logs, and I'll keep you here on my neck mount and see what happens. Need to refill my bar oil, getting low. But lately I haven't been cutting too much because I cut a bunch to get those rounds over there, and I've been focused on splitting. But one of the two tree services dropped off those logs and bigger rounds that need to be cut down to the size I like, about around 16 inches. Oops. So in previous videos, I had gasoline that I had fuel. I use ethanol free, and I had bought it, put it in a 5-gallon pail, and filled it up, months ago. It was probably winter, and I'm wondering if it was a winter blend, because I could start the saw pretty easily, but then as it heated up and I went to get the second tank, I had vapor lock. I could not start the saw. I had to fully let it cool off, and that would take a good long while. And it didn't matter which saw I used. I'd use the 400, I'd use the 462, and I would swap, I'd cut with the 462, refill it, couldn't get it started. Then I'd, use the 400, come back, and the 462 still wouldn't start, even if it had been about a half hour. Like, it had to be fully cooled down. So I finally finished off all that fuel, and I am hoping that this fresh fuel summer blend will allow me to avoid those vapor lock issues. Just maybe it's manufactured a little bit differently. Its boil point, or whatever they call it, is more conducive to the summer heat. Although today in the shade is gorgeous. I think it's only supposed to be in the low 80s. So I'm going to cut a bit. I always wear safety gear. I mentioned in a previous video, when I was much younger, my dad had been cutting, and I don't know the full story. I'll have to ask him sometime. Something slipped. He didn't have chaps on, and he cut his knee right open. Thankfully, he was okay. It healed. He still got a scar, but he can move around all right. But yeah, he was fortunate. But that scared me. That I always remember that and wear safety gear. I have a log roller. Log rate, 6 foot. And boy, that's made such a difference being able to move. And on the 400, I do have a pro sizer, but the 462 I do not. And so what I do is get a stick off the pile that's looks to be about 16 inches, and use that as my cutting guide. As I finished up cutting, I realized that my saw is not cutting straight, and I went back and tried to secure my saw even better so that I could focus on sharpening the chain more level with the same amount of pressure on each side of the cutters. And I haven't tried the saw yet, but I'm hoping that will fix the problem.